Welcome to DC Direct. Hi, I'm Lionel Donovan. Here in this show, we try to talk about some of the bigger stories, but we want to hear from you. So follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube at TRT World, and use the hashtag DC Direct to be a part of the conversation. In today's show, we'll be talking about the rising number of attacks on places of worship around the world, and the effect that's having here on worshipers in the U.S. Jane Kanyinda has been going to church her entire life and believes that expressing her faith is a priority.
My faith plays a major role. I would say it's probably the most important thing in my life. I grew up in a Christian household, so I've always been somehow in the church. It's where I get a lot of my motivation and my purpose, my meaning for life. So I would say that my faith is probably the most important thing, yeah.
So what goes through your mind when you hear about these kinds of attacks?
So initially I was really sad, especially when I heard about the attack in Sri Lanka. Resurrection Sunday is a huge holiday for Christianity, and it's a day that you go and celebrate the resurrection of Christ. So when I heard that, it was really saddening because I really felt like I could relate, because I was so excited that day to be at church and celebrating this holiday, and then to hear that a couple hundred people were killed. It was just really saddening, and it also created some fear because it does make you think, it could be, you don't know who's next, it could be your church.
Jane's fears are shared by many around the world. From the U.S. to Sri Lanka to New Zealand, news stories of attacks on places of worship are becoming more frequent.
2 bombs have exploded at a cathedral.
The suspect in today's mass shooting at the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh.
More than 235 people are now reported to have been killed in that militant attack on a crowded mosque in Egypt.
Now, we begin with some breaking news out of Sri Lanka and reports of 6 bomb attacks at churches and hotels. One blast happened at a church in the capital, Colombo.
So are these tragedies starting to prevent people from praying at their places of worship? To find out, let's hear from Rabbi Shmuel Herzfeld, who runs the Ohev Shalom Synagogue in D.C. When the rabbi heard of the recent attack on the Chabad of Poway Synagogue in California, he was shocked that something like this could happen.
Well, at first I thought, who could possibly do such a thing? Walk into a house of worship and kill people while they are innocently praying. I can think of nothing lower for a human being to do than to walk into a mosque, a church, or a synagogue while people are praying to God with their voices from the depths of their heart, calling out for sick people, remembering people who have passed on to the next world, and gathering together in order to perform acts of kindness and goodness and charity. And then some person, a wicked murderer, will come in there and open fire on them with the intent of performing evil. This is just one of the worst possible things a human being could do.
Ahmet Aydilek, a professor and practicing Muslim, also struggles to deal with attacks on places of worship.
As you hear in the news, not only the Muslim holy places or Muslim prayer areas, but also Christian and Jewish sanctuaries and Hindu temples in the past have been attacked. So by looking at those things, we basically, I think the only one word I can say, we are devastated.
This map shows just a fraction of religious-based attacks around the world since 2010. Although the death toll varies, the pain and loss felt is all too familiar to faith communities around the world.
Places of worship are people gathering together to try and bring goodness to the world, to try and spread the light of God, that we feel that we're here on this world with a larger purpose, the purpose of serving God in order to perform good in the world and bring peace to the world. And when a person comes in and does wickedness and evil, that's not just an attack upon that specific location, it's an attack upon every good person in the world who's trying to perform the will of God and trying to bring goodness and kindness to the world.
Well, these are basically our community centers, as you mentioned. These are our gathering areas. In Diana Center of America, we, in addition to the mosque that you are seeing right now, we also have a cultural center, sports center, restaurant, our guest house, and beautifully decorated in the Turkish style 11 houses. Those buildings obviously are big gathering places for Muslims and non-Muslims in which we organize a lot of programs.
But despite the fear, the rise in attacks makes some worshipers even more determined to celebrate their religion. So how does this affect your overall faith?
In a sense, it kind of brings me closer to my faith. You know, in Christianity, they talk about this in the Bible, that in the end times, these type of things will happen. You know, there's a lot of people being killed for their faith. So it kind of, it led me to pray more and to draw more into my faith.
We should not lose ourselves, and we should not respond to those people in the way that they did. We believe that if we basically let the things change in our lives, then we are not really living our daily lives. God Almighty says in the Quran, do not say of those who have been killed in the way of God that they are dead. They are alive, rejoicing with their Lord. Unfortunately, those people who are full of hate took the lives of those people, but we also believe that they went back to God, and hopefully that they are rejoicing with their Lords.
Rabbi Herzfeld is also calling on faith leaders to speak with one voice when it comes to addressing those who attack places of worship.
If it's an attack upon a mosque, it's an attack upon a synagogue also. If it's an attack upon a church, it's also an attack upon a mosque. If it's an attack upon a synagogue, it's also an attack upon a church and a mosque. And religious leaders need to give that message with a clear voice that an attack upon any religion is an attack upon every religion.
In the meantime, Jane knows what her plans are for this weekend.
I'm still going to church. Yeah, still going to church. I'm not going to, you know, let that stop me. And yeah, I look forward to the next service.
Well, that's all the time we have today in DC Direct, but please be sure to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube at TRT World, and use the hashtag DC Direct to be a part of the conversation and let us know what you think of the effect of the rise of attacks on places of worship. Until next time, I'm Lionel Donovan.